that. There we go. Sorry to everyone who's watching this recording right now. Welcome to lecture. Today we're going over Dom and events. Dom, our new best friend, we're going to learn about what he's all about, and events and what the heck those things are. And of course, like I was just mind blown about, Superstores takes place in St. Louis. That's awesome. Just makes me like, why is that take place in St. Louis? And Ozarks, of course, is in Ozarks. I feel like some people in California have a weird mentality about Missouri. Sometimes it's accurate, sometimes it's not so accurate. Whatever, let's get going here. As always, it is announcements time. As Bree mentioned before the recording started, she's available for office hours. Feel free to reach out to her to just really to schedule those times. Just add a little bit extra time. So definitely take advantage of that. If you have questions and concepts, I'm not available, or your TAs are unavailable, your colleagues are available, or you just feel that Bree teaches your way, go for it. Definitely reach out to anybody you feel that really connects with you on how you absolutely learn. I teach one way, doesn't mean it's the perfect one. Find somebody who really connects to you. Find those online sources that connect with you. That's how developers learn. They learn from making mistakes, but also from how essentially the material is presented to them. That's how anyone learns out there. So definitely take advantage of that. Continuing on, make sure you're starting to look at assignment number 4. Please, please, please look at assignment number 4. Again, I promise it is not as bad as assignment number 3. Start looking there, but do not start number 4 until you are done with number 3. Number 3 is the heavy hitter in these sets of assignments. So please make sure you're doing that. I've already had a lot of students reach out, put time on my Calendarly. Thank you for that. Please continue to do so. I'm happy to answer any questions. All right, continuing on, it's back. And back with a vengeance. It is time for studio review tonight at 8 p.m. Feel free to join and just chill out and get those questions answered about whatever we're doing today. I don't really remember what studio is. I think this one's fun though. So definitely feel free to join in. And oh no, that's all I have. That's all my announcements. I had at least a couple more. Announcement, I'm glad to see everybody. Ooh, I hope everyone had a great Mardi Gras. If any of you think that you saw your professor out or your instructor out on town in Mardi Gras, you didn't. So just erase those memories from your head. All right.
Kyle, I wanted to hop in real quick.
Yeah, Clark, go ahead, please.
And just give a quick note that assignment 4 is going to look a little different than assignments 1 through 3. 4, 5, and 6 are done in GitHub, and you are submitting a GitHub. So it's going to look a little different. Kyle, can you real quick make me a co-host so I can share my screen?
Absolutely. Yes, Clark. I'm going to stop sharing here.
Beautiful. Thank you much. My screen's going to look just a touch weird because I had to make a new GitHub account so I can share this with you. So my GitHub has nothing in it right now. But in the assignment, you have a link that says, click this link to fork the repository. Instead of forking it like a normal fork, which the more I say it, the more chances I'm going to slip up and say something wrong. But instead of forking the repository like a normal, it goes through a system called GitHub Classroom, which has the famous auto grader that you've heard so much about. So it's going to ask you to authorize GitHub Classroom. It's on the up and up. Please do that. Once you authorize it, you're going to be redirected to GitHub Classroom. GitHub Classroom is essentially a shared repository where everyone in this program's assignments will live. So you're going to be asked to accept the assignment. The assignment will authorize and it configures a repository. Normally you give it a minute and then refresh the page. Yep, it creates the repository for you, which instead of having to, which creates the repository, you don't have to create the repository. You do then have to go, well, that's fun. You do then have to go in and you do then have to go in and clone it to your computer like normal. But I am very concerned about that. It was not doing this earlier. So ideally, and I'm wondering if this is because I am creating this into a new account, a brand new account that you all haven't seen yet, or has not been used, and as you can see, is being flagged as a potential spam because I've created so many accounts in pursuit of pretending to be a student. What it should look like, and I will pull up. I'm going to stop sharing so I can share a different screen. What it should look like is a normal GitHub repository. But what's important about it is that we have the famous auto grader. We talk a lot about the auto grader. Your TAs may complain about the auto grader. You may complain about the auto grader. But what it does is you will be able to know when your assignment passes all the tests. So if you see on this auto grader, this is what your screen should look like. That little check mark right there shows you that you pass all the tests. So that check mark is at the top of your repository. So at the top of your repository, above all your files, there's either a red X.
Sorry, Clark, real quick. I don't think you're showing the repository. I think you're still showing the your account has been flagged screen right here.
Okay, that is not what I should be doing. Thank you for that. I'm just going to share my whole screen. If any embarrassing messages pop up, you didn't see them. The end. It would only be my partner asking about dinner, let's be honest. So this is a screenshot of what it should look like. If after you all have tried forking that repository, if you're getting issues 404 errors, please let me know ASAP. That means it's something I need to configure, something that I did wrong. But I'm guessing mine is just because my account is flagged right now. My GitHub account is flagged. But this is a screenshot of what it should look like. So you should, on this screen, this is what your GitHub looks like. It is all the folders and then your most recent commit message. If you have done everything to pass the auto grader, you should see or have a little green check mark. That little green check mark shows that it ran all the unit tests and all the unit tests came back A+, positive, all good. If you see a red X, you will know that you did not pass all the unit tests. Your assignments will not pass. So this is essentially a way that you can grade yourself. You can know if it's passing or not passing. If you get that little red X, you can actually click on that red X and go to the unit tests themselves. A lot of the times the unit tests are pretty descriptive and you may be able to backwards engineer about what you're doing wrong. I'm actually going to, sorry to contradict you, Kyle, I'm actually going to contradict Kyle because the way my brain works, and Kyle's brain might work differently. The way my brain works is if I am struggling on an assignment, say assignment 3, I need a brain break and I might jump to assignment 4. This works if your brain is like mine. My brain cannot focus on one thing for more than half an hour. I have to disappear, go pet a dog, go work on a different assignment. If your brain is like mine, feel free to go ahead and start assignment 4. You do not need any of the tools from assignment 3 to do assignment 4. However, if that is not your brain, if your brain cannot focus on more than one assignment at once, follow Kyle's advice. Kyle is very wise. Follow Kyle's advice and work on assignment 3 to completion. It really depends. You know your brain's best. So however your brain works, do that. If you have questions about the auto grader, please reach out to me, to your TAs. Most of your TAs have encountered the auto grader already. If they have not, we can get you the right answers. So that is the one thing. You will go through a process of authorizing GitHub Classroom to access your GitHub account. That is all on the up and up. It is okay. It is to be expected. And then every time you commit, you will be able to check against the unit test and see if you get that nice little green check mark or that big red X that shows you that you are not passing all the unit tests. You can grade it yourself. Please do not submit the assignment until after you pass all the tests, because otherwise your TA is just going to send it right back to you. So I think that's the extent of my announcement. Like I said, you have my Slack. Please feel free to message me if you have any questions.
Sweet. Thank you, Clark. You're contradicting me. What the heck? Right in front of the class.
I know, very rude.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So everyone is different. I I can't do it because my ADD will just like skyrocket and I'll just never come back to assignment 3. But yeah, it's all, you're absolutely correct. Yeah. Everyone knows their brain best. So do the best for you. Just don't forget about assignment 3, please. Pretty please. But yeah, assignment number 4, go for it. And also go pet a dog. Always. Always go pet a dog. Helps out anybody's mental state. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions, comments, concerns? Am I sharing my screen? I am. Anything else I'm missing today? All right. Double check everything here. Cool. Let's go ahead and get started then. Awesome. Just had to go through all that. Okay. That's it with his announcements. Let's go ahead and get it today. Oh, there he goes. Help me out here. And we're always going to start from the top. If I wanted to bring a team or friends repo repository into my machine, which Git command would I use? Talk to me.
Clone, Git clone.
Very good. We're going to be that cloning. We're definitely going to be cloning it. Today, we're going to be cloning a repository. As always, feel free, if you already remember my link, there's one out there for assignment 15. Like I said, there is a typo today. It's actually for lecture 14, but I said lecture 15 because I like to look into the future. But yes, absolutely. Clone is how we're going to be doing that. Git clone and then the repo link there to bring it in. Remember, the repository does have to be public for you to be able to bring it in. If it is private, you're not going to be able to clone it. That is one thing I do want to put in there, that small little caveat. All right, let's continue on here. What if I wanted to make a separate copy within the repo to do my own changes on it?
Branch. Branch, Git branch.
Very good. Yes, we want to branch. We branch. So if I want to do something in the code base, but I don't want to step on anyone else's toad, I branch off of either main or even another branch if I wanted to. To do that, we say git branch and then the name of the branch we want to create. But this is just to create the branch. So moving on, how do I switch over to that branch I just created?
Checkout.
Git checkout.
Very
Branch.
good, checkout. Absolutely. Once I create the branch, that's awesome. But it doesn't help us if we don't have it checked out. So we check out, aka git checkout, and then the branch name we just created. So like I promised, we are going to be getting into some fun stuff today. So I'm going to go and open up a nice fresh terminal here. And I think my Google is over here. Perfect. Look at that. Isn't that convenient? I'm going to go and post this link here into our lecture questions channel. Feel free to follow along today. We're going to be making a pet store. All right. I'm going to go and clear this out too. There we go. All right. To bring it into my computer, I have to clone it. I know, but first we need to make sure we're in the correct directory to do so. Right now I'm in my home directory. I don't want to do that. I want to CD into my desktop and then into LC. LC is that little folder right there. That's where we're going to keep everything for these lectures. And I type in LS. Look at that. We have all our old file stuff. We don't need to know what's that. We don't need to care about what's in there. The Kyle project in our lecture 14, my zoo. Again, I'm off by a number, but whatever. All right, let's clone this thing onto my machine. I say git clone, and then I paste the link I just copied. Remember, you need to see HTTPS here. Make sure you do not have SSH selected. In 99% of the cases, especially with launch code, you're not going to be wanting to use this. You'll typically use it in a corporate environment, but you do not want to have that selected. Make sure you stay at HTTPS there. Awesome. So I'm going to go and press enter. We have unpacked everything. I'm going to type in LS again, and it looks like lecture 15 pet store has been cloned successfully onto my machine. That's awesome to see. The next thing I want to do then is open up the environment in which we're going to be working with today, Visual Studio Code. I type in Visual Studio Code right here. For Macs, what I'm just doing is pressing Command Space. As we know, that can be something to speed up the process of opening things. For Windows machines, open up however you want. And there we go. I left it in this bigger font too, so we don't have to keep squinting at my screen there. I'm going to go ahead and press now open here. I can also do file open from the top, open folder, because we're opening up a project. I come into desktop, go into LC, and then I'm going to go down to lecture 15 pet store right there. Single click on that and then press open. Perfect. Remember, if you do not want to directly edit my repository so you can actually push it up to your own, fork it first. Fork it first. When we go over here, you'll see a fork right here. Go ahead and press that. It will automatically copy over to your own repository, so it's yours to work with however you seem fit. Perfect. So we have now our stuff over here. We have our adoption page, our index.html. Remember, index.html is code name for the home page, the starting page. You'll typically see index.html out there. I just want to name it to keep it into that convention. Today, we're going to be going through a couple things here. I do want to bring it out because of Sean's comment last week. I do want to make sure that I formally introduce us to Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a way of styling web pages much more easily than just creating a lot of CSS files. Bootstrap is basically a pre-made CSS file for us, and a lot of websites out there utilize it. Hence, making the way we can interact with the pages more seamless website to website, but still giving it some unique personality, however you want to create your website. Bootstrap, this is how we're going to link it right here to this page. If you are more inclined to know more about Bootstrap, what we want to do is Bootstrap for CSS. Where you can go here is getbootstrap.com. This right here is all about Bootstrap. It has documentation and it has all the components and things that you can build or use to build your website. So we have little drop downs, we have navigations, we have cool buttons, things like that. So remember, Bootstrap is there just to simplify creating styles for us. But you know what? Sometimes it can be fun to create our own styles. So in that case, of course, we just stick with our normal CSS sheets. You'll see that also in this project today with styles.css. This is just local created ones or custom ones that I have for my pet images in my pet section. So that right there is all the HTML. In here, you should just see a few other elements that maybe we haven't discussed formally, but they are sometimes can be slightly self-explanatory depending on the words. Right here, nav is short for navigation. Here is for, oh gosh, unordered list, UL. LI is for list item. A is for links. I don't actually remember what A stands for particularly. IMG is obviously
Anchor.
image. Is it anchor? Thank you. I don't think I remember that. Maybe I never knew. Awesome, awesome. Yes, anchor. Typically, we'll use those A tags for just navigating page to page or to a completely other website. All right, so that is, I think, the acquaintedness I want to give you all. Again, it's all on the GitHub if you want to follow along. I'm trying to think. I think that's all I got for you. So yeah, feel free to download this. Oh yeah, that's what I want to do. Is like, let's show it to you. That'd be nice. Let's go find it in Finder. Go over here real quick. I'm in desktop LC. I just want you to, let's do this. There we go. Copy that all over. All right, let's go to the page and actually take a look at it. This is what the page is going to look like if you double click on it on your phone. Look at that cute little kitten and that dog getting along. We're going to be creating this a cute adoption agency website today. So let's have some fun with that. We come over here to Adoption Center and we see all of the fun pets available for adoption. Look at Rose. She's just over there, just happy as a clam. You know, a little adopt me button. It doesn't really do anything right now. We see Pixel and then we see Polly down here, Polly the parrot. So yeah, we have a website here working. We have home here. So this is just a very basic rudimentary website. We see a couple styling stuff up here from Bootstrap. So just wanted to quickly introduce you to the website we're going to be working with today. That being said, what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and figure out what we can actually do with websites. Last few lectures, we were introduced to HTML itself, the thing that actually structures the website, and CSS, the thing that styles the website. So we're going to go ahead and explore one more thing. So far, you all have done absolutely amazing. You have a lot of technologies and languages under your belt at this time. You know HTML, CSS, maybe not like pros just yet, but you still know the basics. You still have the basic concepts under your belt of these two technologies. And then, of course, we have JavaScript. JavaScript is just our fun, exciting thing that we had started with. So let's just bring in one thing we've always seen before. Let our dog name equal start. This is creating that variable that you all have seen through and through. We're also able to console log that dog name to the screen. That's awesome. But staying at JavaScript for a moment, if we ever ran our applications, it didn't really print out anything pretty to the user. JavaScript's really there to just do some heavy hitting, to do algorithms, to do some kind of giant process or little process, depending on the code, to make something happen. It's not very pretty at all. Hence why we were introduced then to HTML. HTML actually has the capacity and the ability to provide something that we can see, something of value to our users, to us and as individuals on the web, something to actually create. So on the right-hand side here for HTML, we have something that can visually give some visual information to our users, or just at least some visual constructs. Well, on the left-hand side, we have a technology that's able to do a lot of processing very quickly and do great tasks out there for us. So today we're going to be learning how to exactly get them to work together. How can we get these two sides of the coin really to work as one? And that's what we want to explore. So the first thing that we want to really take a look at is that JavaScript. We're going to talk about scripts today. Looking particularly, JavaScript was made to be a scripting language. Back in the day when it was out in '93, that's what it was developed for originally, is to do small little processes for different types of applications, including websites. So today we're going to be writing a script with JavaScript and HTML. To do this, we need to include a new tag we haven't been truly introduced formally to. That tag is the script tag. These special, powerful tags allow us to include JavaScript into our HTML. So these things will absolutely take the knowledge that we have gained from JavaScript and allow us to insert it into HTML. So let's go ahead and see this actually in action. We're going to go over here to our HTML, and we're going to provide some script here. Now, the scripting tags are very special in the sense they can actually be placed both in the header and the body. The header and the body, they can go either place. The placement is very specific to what you're trying to do, but right now we're just going to place it in the head and worry about that later. So I start with script, and I end it with that /script right there. Awesome. Now comes the true magic. Now we can actually, instead of writing HTML in here, we can actually write that famous JavaScript code we started with way back in the day. So of course, we're going to start out with just the fun hello world example there. Why not? Just put in hello world. So we can actually console log now inside of our website here. So script console log hello world. Easy as that. Now, we're going to come over here. I'm going to refresh this screen. Nothing really happened. We're not actually seeing JavaScript actually do anything here because, again, HTML is just showing us visually what's going on in our HTML. JavaScript is more of a behind the scenes or behind the website kind of technology. So therefore, we need to lift up this curtain and be able to see JavaScript actually in action. To do that, on your browser, what you're going to want to do is right-click and press Inspect. This right here is how we lift up the curtain of our websites. On the right-hand side, you'll see all of the elements or tags that it takes to make this website work. So if you compare this to what we just saw in Visual Studio Code, it will match basically exactly because we're writing this code and we're injecting it here in the browser so it actually compiles something visually. But again, we really want to be able to see our JavaScript in action. How are we able to get our HTML from VSC to into the browser again? Grace, you're going to want to go into, or anybody out there that has that same exact question, find your HTML page in your documents. So in my case, it would be in LC. Bring that down there. There we go. We're going to go into where it is and then double click on that HTML page. We are in index.html. You'll double click on that. It should open up your primary browser. Excuse me. For me, it's Chrome. It could be Safari or Edge, depending on your OS. Absolutely. All right. So we are here. So we are seeing the elements here. But look at up here. We have a lot more tags, and a lot of these do truly help us. You're looking at the developer tools right now. The one we want to look at is with console. Console. We click on that tab, and we see our message out here, hello world. I'm going to go and refresh it again. You see hello world out here again. This is where we can actually see the output of our JavaScript running in our HTML. This is amazing. This is really fun because you are now able to have two languages truly work with each other to at least tell us hello world. I mean, isn't that awesome? Having our website just have secret messages in the background. That sometimes actually can be pretty fun. So this right here is just an introduction into the script tags. So I'm just going to pause here for a moment and let anybody catch up and answer any questions anyone might have on this before we dive a little bit deeper. All right, so let's keep on going. So far, there you go. So far, we have been able to now inject JavaScript into our code. So we have connected our code now to our HTML. That's great, but we haven't really done too much in our HTML. We've really just presented or printed out things into our screen. So we need to actually kind of explore more about what JavaScript can actually do in the HTML world or the HTML setting. So let's go ahead and do that. So the question is, how can we have JavaScript truly start interacting with our page? How can we start interacting with our page using our knowledge about JavaScript? Well, with that, we need to learn about one quick thing. Let's bring in our website here. Our website is more than just HTML down there. Your browser is a very powerful program. The modern web is all built on that browser. The only reason we're able to see our websites today is because the browser allows it, and HTML is a standard across all of it. So behind the scenes, we have our browser, AKA our window. The thing that we're opening up on either Chrome, DuckDuckGo, Bing, wherever your browser is appearing, you have a window into the web. This window has all the information about the site that you're currently on, how it compiled, if there's any issues, where you actually are in the giant web itself. So this window is an object that has information about what's going on in your current user session or your current website, wherever you're at, again, in the interweb. So with that object, you all know a lot of things about objects already. Bring it back to a couple lectures ago. Objects can have methods and functions, or excuse me, methods and properties inside of it. Like we said, window is an object. So yes, window has properties and methods we're allowed to utilize to help us either make decisions or interact with things. One of the very popular ones that I utilize, at least on a day-to-day basis, is actually window.location. It's also a very, very knowledgeable object to get back from the window object. Window.location tells us exactly where are we in the page. What URL are we at? Things of that nature. Another one we have is a window.alert for message. Let's go ahead and see these two real quick in action. I'm going to go and rearrange these because I keep sliding back and forth. There we go. Let's go ahead and console log out our window real quick. So what we can do is console log window. It's going to be a fun one. We're going to go ahead and see what our browser can do about this. I come over here back to our index.html page and I refresh. I just open up a new tab. I need to do Control R to refresh. There we go. Now we see hello world up here. Again, we're in console. We see hello world up here, but we see now we have a thing down here. Remember when you printed things out on Replit and it was a type of class, like with the dog class, we said dog and then the curly brackets and had a bunch of stuff about the dogs. We'll take a look at this. It says window and has the curly brackets there. This is an object of type window. We open it up and look at all the fun stuff it has for us to play with. Isn't that amazing? This is all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes that we never even knew about. Some of the fun stuffs are these up here that say F, that stands for function. So this is a function inside of your window object. We'll talk about that function here in a minute. We just talked about alert, but I want to come down here to location. You're going to scroll down a little bit to the L's if I know my alphabet. There we go. Come over here to location, and we get a lot more information about location. Also, timeout. What I'm doing right now is navigating through this object using our developer tools on the right-hand side. This is a very nice looking way to explore very complex objects. So most developer tools and a lot of the browsers that we have out there are able to do this. So just want to let you know, I'm just diving deeper into an object. I'm in the Windows object. I just opened up location, which is another object full of more information. Now take a look at this, my href, my true location where I am right now on the web is at file, users, Kyle Wagner, desktop, LC, lecture 15, blah, 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 .index.html. Make that a little bit bigger so we can all see that. So it's actually telling me exactly where I'm at. It tells me where my origin is, things along those lines. So right here, it's just giving us information about our location right now in the window, in the web. The other one I want to talk to you about was alert. Let's go ahead and see that one. What we want to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to actually use the window object now. Say window.alert. Say, are you having fun yet? Are you having fun yet? There we go. We're going to save that. I'm going to come over here now to our browser. We're going to refresh and take a look. Oh, I forgot it just says okay. I thought it says yes or no. Oh, my bad. So we're at the index.html. Before the page is even loaded, it says, are you having fun yet? That alert, our window is actually popping up and asking us this question. You just press okay. It's really just to give us notification about something. So that window alert is there for. So alerts, or excuse me, window has useful functions that we can utilize to interact with the user. Other ones we have are other methods of the same sort. So window, like we just saw, has, well, let's go and see one more and have that. Oh, I didn't console log the window out. Let me go ahead and console log window out one more time. I think there's one more that I really do like. Yeah, it's that one, console.log window, and I think it's confirm. I want to make sure. There we go. Save that, refresh. There we go. This one is a confirm. So you can have different, like the last one we just did with for alert, it just says okay. That's just for notification. This one is like confirm, like cancel or okay. Like if they press cancel, go back. If they press okay, do something. Things along those lines. And as always, we have a bunch of other functions in here that we can use. So again, feel free to explore this on your own time. I do want to just introduce you to the window object, the thing that is truly controlling what you are seeing. Now that we know about the window, real quick, any questions about the concept of the window before we dive into its best friend?
Kyle?
Yeah, Jody.
Oh, I just wanted to let you know. I think F12 will open the developer tools as well, if I remember correctly.
Cool.
I think
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I think so.
another way of opening them quickly if you want to.
Let me see. Let me make sure. I was going to press the F10, F1. There you go. Looks like it. Yes, you can also do F12. I'm always slow. I just do right click and always do inspect. Done it for years, but no, you're absolutely right. The F12 definitely can speed up the process too. So yeah, good call out, Jody. Awesome, awesome. Any other questions, comments? All right. Ooh, Hannah, did you have a question?
Yes. So window actually, the object window actually represents whatever we are looking at right now on the browser, right? Correct?
It contains everything that's in the browser. Yes.
Okay.
So yep, window is what is the big container there, but we're about to learn about the more powerful thing that's inside of it. Everything that really makes things tick. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Excuse me. Let's go make sure I'm on that. Perfect. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about that. So like we just said, your window is your browser. It is what is controlling you being able to see things on the web. But it isn't truly the thing that is, let's just say, containing your website. So we're going to explore that. Your HTML here is on a page. Like we said, it's inside that window. But it is truly controlled and managed by another thing inside of our window called the DOM. This right here, our DOM, is our document object model. What this means is that a document, your website, is technically, in a sorts, a document. It is a page being shown with information. When that page is being shown with information, it needs to have something that is truly, let's just say, well, in sense of managing the entirety of it. Basically contains all the information about it. So all of your elements, all of your tags, everything like that is inside of your DOM. So it contains all of the information on the actual page itself. So this thing right here, ooh, let me fast forward here. There we go. Ooh, excuse me. So it contains all the information on the page. So including the title and as well as all of the elements of the tag. So this is the thing that's truly holds our website in the window. We're looking for that one thing to interact with that we can actually help use JavaScript to actually make things happen on our website. So let's go and explore exactly what this DOM is doing with our elements. So looking at all of our code here on the right-hand side, if we want to interact with specific elements using the DOM, we are going to be writing some code in order to get all that information. The first thing we need to do is be able to find the element itself. In order to do that, we need to be introduced first to the document object. So let's go ahead and get introduced real quick to where the DOM actually lives. Like we already said, window here contains our DOM inside of it. So what we're going to do actually is call out one more object here. Instead of window, I'm going to go and comment this out too. I'm going to call out document. Document is, again, our page in a nutshell. It is the one thing that truly contains all of our elements and all of our tags in there. Come over here. We're going to go and inspect there. Console, and I think I saved. I did. Awesome. We're going to go and refresh that. And we see our document in here. When we print this out, we see exactly, probably hopefully what we expected a little bit. We see our HTML inside of here. So we have all of our tags inside of this document. So we now just discovered the thing that is truly holding all of our HTML out here in the browser, our DOM, our document. So now we want to learn how to actually truly interact with that. Let's go ahead and back, and we're going to find out how to do that. If we want to interact with our site, we need to know exactly what part of the site we want to interact with. Do you want to interact with one of your headers? Do you want to interact with one of your paragraphs? Maybe you want to change text if something is true. Remember our Booleans. To do that, we need to answer that question first, and then we need to find it. In order to find it, we have to ask our document for it. How we do that is we use document.getElementById. And then we provide that information's name. Now, if you want to, if we want to go back to our last lecture, the ID is is an attribute that we provide in our element tags. For that one particularly, let me go and see if I think I have one over here. Let's go over to adoption page, and right here for the button, I see rows adopt button. So there's an ID in here. We're going to make it a little bit simpler. We'll come over here to next.html. Actually, I'm going to put an ID in here. Equals, I'm going to call it first para, because that's our first paragraph. We're going to go ahead and save that. So in my paragraph down here, I put a new ID attribute with ID equals first para, just the name of the actual ID I want to call it. Remember, always keep your IDs unique. And we're about to find out why exactly we want to do that. So, like we just said here, and how to interact with my paragraph, say maybe I want to change some text at some time. I need to say document.getElementById and then the ID name. And I want to update that paragraph. I'm going to include it such as this. I'm going to put the actual ID name inside of my document. So what we're about to do is that we're going to go ahead and grab this element. And we're going to try to do something to it. But first we need to get it. So let's go ahead and do that now. What I want to do is that I'm going to be coding this just like JavaScript. So I'm going to say let my para element, whatever I want to call it, just a normal arbitrary variable there. I say equal, and then I want to find it in my document. I need to ask my document for this element. So I say document.getElementById. And then I type in the ID I want to find. I say first para. Remember, that is exactly the ID that I have typed down here. Now, let's go ahead and console log what it finds here and see what happens. say, oh, I'm going to comment out these two things because I don't want all that going there. So let me save that. Come over here and I'm going to refresh. Now, this is very, very specific. I really want to talk about this. We just got back a null. That is not our element. What I really want to call out here is that it could not find this because my para, or sorry, first para did not exist yet. When we are looking at HTML, HTML is compiled from top down, sequentially. Always remember that it is compiled sequentially. So at line 9, is this paragraph written yet? It is not. Therefore, this script tag should not be going up here at line 9. Hence why that script tag is so powerful. It can go anywhere in our code. So we're actually going to bring it now below our paragraph. Ooh, that is a very long paragraph there. Just like that. Because again, we go sequentially here. So our paragraph up here needs to be compiled first. HTML needs to see it, and then we can ask for it from our document. So there we go. I'm going to save this again, come back over to our browser, refresh, and now I see that my element was actually found now. Awesome. That's what we want to see. All right, I'm going to pause here. I know I am rambling a lot, and I apologize. So I'm going to go ahead, give everyone here a second. Any questions up into this point about what we've seen? Anything at all? This one's a lot of nitty-gritty work today for this lecture. Anything? Any questions at all? Everyone good?
I have a quick question, Kyle.
Yeah, what's up?
So that whole situation came up in an exercise I was doing where it kept saying that it wasn't defined at null when I was trying to call a variable that I had made. So essentially that means I probably need to go back into my code and adjust where that script tag is, at least as a starter, perhaps. Because
I would say that, yeah. Take a look at it, like we just said, sequentially from top to bottom. See the tag that you're asking for even exists yet when that script is ran. Yeah, I would say that would be my first hunch at it. But yeah, then double check, of course, spelling too. That is a big thing here also, that HTML, yeah, that it's really hard with HTML because it doesn't have any catches for us. Unlike JavaScript where it does kind of help us out, HTML just tries its hardest. So yeah, great question there. Any other questions? All right, then let's keep going here. All right, so once we ran this, what our compiler did is that it truly found our paragraph there in our code. This is awesome. This is one way we can actually get our stuff, but there are many ways out there that we can ask our documents for these elements back. Get element by ID is very specific. If you know that you know the ID of that element, use that if you only want to get back one element. But say you want to get back many sections for whatever reason of your document. In that case, we can use a different way of asking our document for all of those different sections. The way to do that is document.querySelector, and then we provide it some querying in there. Query is a way of just asking a general question or asking it to filter on something. Take a very close look at this, that dot header style. Dot header style, if we think about CSS, can anyone tell me what the dot means in CSS?
Class.
Very good, class. It means class. So looking at our code over here, what element would truly be found? Our H1 up here with the class of header style. So this query selector will actually grab this information back and provide it to us for us to do something with it. Now, I keep saying do something with it. We're finding our stuff, but we're not actually doing anything with the things that we find. What's the use of that? So now this is the fun part of the lecture where we're actually going to go into our code and we're going to actually take a look at what we can truly do to our elements once they're found, using either the get element by ID or the query selector, completely up to you. In this case, we're going to be doing our first para. Take a very close look at this. By the way, I do want to call this out just for extra Kyle fact of the day. If anyone ever sees this random stuff over here, this random generated text, this is called lorem ipsum. This is what some coders or designers will use to just do filler text. So if you see this on some of my websites, it's because I didn't have enough creativity to type out a giant paragraph about an adoption center today. I just copied random stuff. So why not, Kyle, stop being lazy. We're gonna change this paragraph to something of use. So that's what we're gonna go ahead and do now. Let's actually update this text, but not directly in the HTML. Let's use JavaScript to do it. So that's what we're gonna do now. We want to update this paragraph to different text, but we're going to use JavaScript. You have to use JavaScript? No, but this is going to be a great example to first see this happen. First things first, you need to find your element. Cannot stress that enough. Find your element first, and then you can edit it. We want to edit the text of this paragraph. To do so, what we can do is we can ask it to update one of its properties, because an element is an object itself with a bunch of different properties and functions inside of it. One of the properties that we want to update right now is called inner text. So now when I'm going to say my para element dot inner text, and now I can actually update it to whatever I want this paragraph to truly say using code. So here I'm going to say, why not? I'm trying to think of what I can do here. Have a look around. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and comment out this console log here. And let's go ahead and see this thing in action. So we got our element here first, and now we are setting one of its properties to have a look around. Come over here and refresh. And now we see that text is gone. Even though it's in our HTML, we had JavaScript update it on the fly to have a look around. This right here is updating the inner text because we set that inner property. Now, is this really, really useful to us? I mean, we can see possible uses for it here and there, but we could have just done this directly to the HTML. But this is, again, just a quick introduction to what we can do with these properties. So I'm going to pause here. Any questions real quick about what we just saw before we dive a little bit deeper? All right, let's go and see what we can actually do with some of this stuff. Inner text is just one of the many properties that we have on our elements. Another big one that I want to introduce everyone to is called inner HTML. Remember, our elements have other elements inside it, or at least they can. Our paragraph right now doesn't really have any elements inside of it. All it does is have text. So if we don't want to just update the text, we can update the inner HTML, aka we can update something inside of it. We can put children inside of it. So let's go ahead and put some children tags inside. So down here, I'm going to say my para element dot inner HTML, and I'm going to go ahead and, I don't know, put a button in there. Or I'm trying to think, let me put another header or something like that. Put a header. So let's say H2. This is my practice header. And then I say slash H2. I'm putting this all within a string. All within a string. So I'm injecting this HTML directly into its HTML, all using that string. And it's going to be okay. HTML is going to be like, all right, I understand what you're trying to get at and help us out here. So let's see that. So as we just saw, we were able to inject that HTML in there, but pay very close attention. It overwrit our inner text. You can only do one. So if you want to inject HTML, go for it, or you can do text. You cannot do both simultaneously. So there we go. This is my practice header in H2. So these are two properties now that we're able to work with.
So it chooses whichever one is second or like lowest?
Exactly, because we're going sequentially. Great question. Yep. All right. Any other questions about this?
So could you use the inner HTML to do like, make like a shape or something like that instead of just doing text?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to do a shape, so you introduce maybe a div or a styled div, yeah, absolutely. You can inject any kind of HTML that you want right there. Cool. All right. So we just learned how to do HTML and text. And I know there's people out there be like, Kyle, I expected more from you today. I'm like, I know, we are getting there. I promise. HTML and all of our sites out there do way more than just update text on the fly as it's loading. We do extra fun stuff, things that are interactive. Actually, on our site, it's not just a static website. JavaScript introduces us to something that we can be more dynamic. So if there are no other questions, let's actually explore the fun stuff that we want to get into today. Let's go ahead and talk about what JavaScript truly provides to us here on the website. Now, back in the day, before JavaScript, HTML was just providing a document of information. Think Wikipedia. That's it. It was just text. That's all it started out with. There was no way to actually interact anything else but with just text. All you did was read at a computer. That's not fun. Out here today, the web has taken a completely different role. We're able to, again, interact with these sites. So take this button, for example. If we look at this button, and if you want to, it's on the adoption page here, we have the Adopt Me button. Think of this on any website you have, even on the search button of Google or DuckDuckGo, whatever. When you see a button and you click on it, something happens. Something big happens. This is called an event. An event just occurred. Now, a button might be a simple click for all of us, but to a website, this is pretty dang big. Something truly happened. A user interacted with it. Hence, sometimes, the majority of times when the button is clicked, a website wants to react to it. So when an event occurs and no one is around to hear it, it still actually happens. But if we just click on this button and there's no one actually to hear anything from it, nothing truly happens on the website. So again, if we click this button and there's no one around to hear it, nothing happens on the website. The button just clicks. That's it. We go over to Adoption Center and we just click on this Adopt Me button. I'm clicking on it. This right here is an event, but nothing is happening because we need to add something new to our website. This new thing being called an event listener. So that's what we're about to listen, or that's what we're about to create right now. We're going to go ahead and create an event listener for this Adopt Me button right here. So we're going to go and hop over to our adoption page.html. We're going to start writing our code right here. I'm going to go ahead and write this code down here. What I'm going to say is script in there. And I'm doing this because the button is above it and I want to interact with this button. So I start with this script, but we have no idea yet how to write that event listener. So let's go ahead and do that. First things first, we're going to be saying my button.add event listener, whatever that element is, and we're going to be adding an event listener to it. In this case, my button is the Adopt Me button that we're talking about. It's that element. And then we call the method on top of it, or the function on top of it, add event listener. The next thing is very important. It's the event type. When you click on a button, what's the event type? Click. If you check a checkbox, it's being checked. When a page loads, the event type is load. There are a lot of event types out there. Clicking on just a page or on a button is not just the only one. There are a lot of events out there. Feel free to take a look at them. But click is a very popular one, and it's the one we're going to be working with today. So we say the event type. And then after it sees that event happen, it needs to know what to do. Hence, the next parameter we put in there is a function of what actually to do when that button is clicked. So that's what we're going to do now. Let's go and see this add event listener in action. So it says we needed the my button, but before we even add this event listener on top of it, does anyone have any idea what we need to do first? We need to do something to our element.
Link
To define it, right? Or
We gotta
make a
find it. Very good. I'm hearing it. I'm hearing an awesome job. Yes, we need to find it. So let's go and do that. Let's say let my button btn equal, and then how do I find this button up here?
Document dot
It's the get.
document dot get element by.
Element by ID. Very good. And then anyone see the ID that we're gonna be working with today?
Okay. Rows adopt
Adopt
button.
rows,
Very
adopt
good.
button. Yeah.
Very good. Yes, absolutely right. Because we saw that ID attribute. Awesome, awesome. Rows. I can't spell adopt. I'm just gonna go in and copy that because that's how we save ourselves from coding mistakes. There we go. All right. So we have found our button. Now it's time to do that fun thing. We are going to add the event listener to it. So we're going to say my btn button.add event listener. The event type here, again, is whatever you want to listen for. We want to listen for a click. And then we need to write what happens when a click occurs. It's a function. Now, this is where the fun stuff actually happens, because now an event occurs. Now we can ask ourselves, what do we want to happen when the button when the button clicks? Well, if I come over here and I press adopt me, well, I just adopted rows. I don't want someone else coming in here and adopting rows. So let's go ahead and disable this button and change the text to tell other people that Rose has a grand new home at my small house that has a decent backyard for her. So let's go ahead and do that. What we're going to do now is we're going to tell this element, my button, that we want you to update. So what I'm going to say is my button dot inner text to equal Rose is adopted. Awesome. We've seen inner text before. We know what's going on here. So let's go ahead and see what happens now when we refresh this. Click adopt me, and look what it says now. Rose is adopted. Awesome, good for Rose. But I can still see I can click on it. We always have to tell it. Do we want our user to click on it anymore? No, we don't want it to. So let's go ahead and disable it. To disable something inside of your coding, it means that you just don't allow a user to click on it. That is actually an attribute in the button field. So when we want to add an attribute, what we can say is, hey, on the button, I want to add an attribute. Oops, sorry, I want to set attribute. I always forget that. Set attribute. Now we want to set the specific attribute. It is disabled, and we want to set it to true. That's how we can disable a button. Let's go ahead and try this again. Adopt me, we do that, and now take a very close look at it. It is actually a lighter shade of blue. This typically denotes that the button has been disabled and I can't click on it anymore. So we just saw two things. We got to see when this event occurs, our inner text has been updated, and also how to add an attribute there. In this case, we want our rows here to be disabled, or sorry, the button to actually be disabled. So there are two things that we can actually do during an event. Awesome, awesome. All right, I'm gonna pause here. Any questions about what we just saw with the event listener and how we're actually updating our element as we're doing this stuff?
I have a quick question. Is your line 41, the true, is it, it's a Boolean, but is it a function? I'm just not sure, like I can just toss in true or toss in false and then.
Just like JavaScript, you are able to toss in that Boolean because it definitely is. Technically, let me see if I can set it as a string. I think HTML will still treat it as such. Let's take a look. It might not. Oh, it does. Okay. Yeah, just still take it as a string here. Oh, yeah, because technically it's a value. So let's see if I set it to false. If it does that. I think. Yeah. So technically you don't want to put it as a string. You truly want to put it as a Boolean because it should be a because if it was false, it should not be disabled. So yeah. Let me double check here. I think so. Oh, because it's actually just putting the attribute in. There we go. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and throw it just in a Boolean. But you can also put in the string as well because it's just going to see disabled and just treat it as such. So yeah, that's only for disabled though. Disabled is true and false, but other attributes, as you've seen, like for style or something like that, like if we wanted to throw in my button, this is another one, set attributes. Maybe we want to do direct styling here, style, and we put in a string there. So we're going to say what, our background color. The color is going to be now red or something like that. Save that, come back over, adopt me. And now look at that. The background color is now red. Fun stuff. So it's all about what the attribute wants. In disabled is a true and false, but for styling and other attributes, it could be a string. Sometimes it could be a number. So great question there. Any other questions on this?
Can we use the script for the second section for pixel? Can we use the line number 41 you have written, right? For the button, can we use inner.html or we should use only inner.text for all the things inside the script?
So are you saying down here for pixel?
Yeah.
The inner HTML technically would still work, but we're just setting text, so we wouldn't want to do that. So if we came down here, what we need to do is that we need
Instead
to
of
get
inner text, if we use inner HTML, will it work?
it will technically still work, but we have to ask ourselves, are we truly setting HTML or are we setting the text? When we're just writing text, usually just use inner text. For HTML, if you're actually going to inject HTML, then put inner HTML.
Okay, okay, thank you.
But to answer your question, technically will still work, it's just not truly recommended.
Okay.
And let's see. Go. Let's refresh that and come down here to pixel. Oh, what do I do? Oh, because, and if I go over here, my button has already been declared, so it would be my button 2. That's a good thing right here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. JavaScript will still throw you errors. JavaScript complaining is not going anywhere. Take a look in your console and make sure that you're not seeing any red if your text or if your website is not working. Look in your console if your web page is not working. JavaScript will try its hardest to tell you what's going on and why it's not reacting to whatever you want to happen. And I'm just going to change this. And I saw your question there. Give me one moment and I will get to it. There we go. For background color or any color related element, instead of using basic values such as blue, red, could I use hexadecimal code instead? Absolutely. No, that is not a dumb question at all. Typically out in the wild, you will not see background colors red or blue, things like that. You'll see hexadecimal codes. We just haven't gone over hexadecimal codes, so that's why I kind of just stray away from it. To everyone out there, if you are interested in that, hexadecimal codes is a 3 or 6, not 326, 3 or 6 digit hexadecimal sequence to basically choose any color ever that your computer can provide. So what am I talking about exactly? I'm talking about saying hashtag, and then we can say F00. What this is doing is saying that I want all on red. So it goes red, green, and then blue. F means all the way on. Hexadecimal is 16 base, so it is from 0 to F. Really weird, right? But 0 to F. Red means, F means all the way on. I want to flip my red light all the way on. And then 0 means turn it all the way off. So in this one, it technically would still give us red here whenever we click it. Just like that. But if we want to get more complex colors or something like that, we can say F1, 3F, 0, 2 or something like that. I have no idea what this color is going to be. It's sometimes fun just to see what it's going to be. Let's see. Which one is this? Is it still red? I guess it would be still kind of a red. Let's try to turn it all the way on here. There we go. That should mess it up a little bit. There we go. Now it's like a purple. Isn't that nice? Cool. Cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Any other questions? All right. The last thing I want to go over then real quick is that this is cool to write your scripts in HTML. That's fine. But as we know, our websites out there get pretty complex. Just think of the things that you interact with on a daily basis. Your banking website, your just like any kind of online game or anything like that, whatever. We have a lot of different interactions happening. So what am I trying to get at here? Putting your JavaScript in here is fine for small projects, but typically you want to make your own file for it. So we're going to go ahead and see that right now. We're going to put our JavaScript in its own file. So what I want to do, I'm going to say new file here. I'm going to say myfunctions.js, JS for JavaScript. So there we go. In here for my functions, I want to attach those event listeners to my buttons whenever we're ready to go. So I want to put all of my event listeners over here. So I'm going to go ahead and get those just real quick. I'm going to place them inside of my function. So this is fine right here. We are able to put this code in here. But if I ran this right now, and I'm going to go ahead and take out these scripts. I come back over here, and we see that adopt me buttons do not work anymore. Why is this? Because just like CSS, we have not told our HTML about this JavaScript yet. So we need to connect these two together. To do so, we need to come up here to our header and provide it a little bit of information about our JavaScript. To do that, we say script, just like how we've always been writing our scripts today. But now we need to tell it where to find this script at. So we say src for source, and then inside the quotes, we place where we actually want to call this. We say my functions.js. Just like that. Now our two things are connected. Our HTML and our JavaScript is now connected with this. Remember, we did this exact same thing like we just saw up here with our styles. So real quick, I'm gonna come over here now, we're gonna refresh. And we see that our buttons still don't work, but look at it now. Up here in the top right, we have a little bit of an error. Cannot read property of null for event listener in my functions at line 4. This is a good and bad sign. It's a good sign because my functions is attached to my HTML. The bad sign is that I'm getting a compilation error. So let's go ahead and fix this. My functions at line 4. What this error is telling us is that my button here is null. If my button here is null, that means that this, like, we could not find Rose adoption button in our document. And I can try to make it even, yeah, I'll make it a little bit bigger here. Give me 1 second. That already was like 16. Okay. There you go. Is that a little bit better? Try to. I know my screen's very small, so hopefully that helps out.
But that's fine. Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm probably going to tone it down in the next lecture, but we'll just keep it like this for everyone for just right now. All right. So going over to our code here, like we said, line 4, my functions. So this get element by ID is not finding Rose adoption button. So we need to remember, in our adoption page, it is all compiled sequentially. We put our script up here on line 12, but the Rose adoption button isn't even created until you get down to line 36. That's eons away. So yes, of course our JavaScript can't find it. So what we need to do is wait for our entire page to load before we try to go find Rose or Rose's adoption button. So what we need to do is wait for our load event to finish, or at least let it happen. So luckily, we know a way to wait and listen for events. What do we need to add out there? Who can tell me?
A listener.
We need to add a listener, absolutely, because if that event happens, we don't have a listener around, we can't do anything about it. So let's go ahead and do that. What we're going to do is we're going to wait for our window to finish loading. So we say window.add event listener. We say load. We need it to finish loading before it actually executes our stuff. So we say function. And in here, we'll execute after loading has been completed. So we take all this and then we paste it inside of there. So now after it's done loading, then it will try to find Rose's adoption button. So let's go ahead and save that. I'm going to come back over here, refresh, press adopt me, and now we see it works again and our errors are gone. So remember, we need to wait for our window to finish loading before we try to go find our elements. Otherwise, they might not exist. I'll get that bubble out of there. Any questions on what we just saw here?
So you added the event listener load, not because you had to, right? Because you could have just moved the script down so that it went after that, right? Because scripts can go anywhere in the HTML page, or does it just not work like that?
When you import it like this, it is highly recommended to keep it in your head.
Okay.
So if it is imported like this with src, we're going to keep that in our head. We're not going to put it at the very bottom. So I put that window load in there because I had to. Awesome. Yeah, great question there, because I do want to like explain that just a little bit further. But yeah, absolutely. If we are importing our JavaScript from anywhere, it should go always in the head. We saw today we can put it in the body, but that's if we were directly writing the JavaScript there. In this case, we are importing it, so it should stay up here. Awesome. Come back here to my functions. Any other questions out there? How's everyone feeling about it? Pretty good? All right.
Yeah.
It's been silence through and through today.
I think we're
Here's
just
some
coming
copy
to
requests.
terms. We're turning into
God.
polyglots, so it's kind of shocking, right?
It's true.
Can
It's
I ask
true.
you a question?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, so I actually wasn't following in the beginning, but did you have multiple pages in your website, and you had only one HTML file, right?
So if you brought it, if you cloned my repository or even forked or whatever, you'll have two files in there originally. It was index.html
okay,
and adoption page.html, and then you have the
gotcha.
styles.css. Yep.
Never mind. Yeah, I got it.
No worries. And also, if we look over here too in your Visual Studio Code, color coordination also helps with Git. Green means that the file was added. These means that orange means, at least in my colors, it means that it was edited. And then white just means nothing has changed. So Git's actually kind of helping us out a little bit here and telling us what's going on.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no worries for
John.
John.
I saw in the beginning you had like only one HTML with that dog and that lorem ipsum, and then you had that adoption page, and I thought you only had one HTML. Like, oh, where did that go? So,
no, all good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I'm hoping that silence truly does mean everyone's just like slightly shocked, but also accepting of everything we just learned today, because we are officially finished here. So what I'm going to do real quick is that I'm going to, as always, git add period. Oh, sorry about that. CD into my lecture 15, even though it's 14. Git add period git commit -m completed lecture. Close that, and then git push. There we go. Everything has been pushed up and ready for anybody else to take a look at it. That is all I have for everyone today. That right there is how we connect JavaScript and HTML. I really did find that fascinating when I first started way back in the day with HTML. So I really like this. It just makes websites be able to do things beyond just showing information. So it is really intriguing, and it can do a lot of stuff. JavaScript is extremely powerful when it's paired up with HTML. So that is it, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic time in small groups. Have a great week, and then feel free to come back to Studio Review at 8 p.m. tonight. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kyle.